Hey, Dennis. We're going to have an abrupt start today. And even though no one's watching, we're going to kick off. It's been 2 weeks, man. How have you been?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking. Yeah, it's been an interesting few weeks. A lot of stuff happening personally, professionally, and in the world. So a lot of things going on. How about you? I know that you've had some loss in your family as well. COVID's
Yeah.
really kind of taken its toll.
Yeah, man. No matter how hard I tried, I mean, and you know what? That's a good starting point for our discussion. No matter how hard you try, and no matter how tight you keep yourself in, when the governments are creating, like a pinball machine out there, it's bound to get to you. And even
Yeah.
though I've locked myself in since February, it's been like almost 5 months now. As explained before, my parents had a different level of isolation. And when on Eid, like 8 weeks ago,
Yeah.
our moronic government just opened up the lockdowns without, not that they had a decent lockdown anyway, but they really opened it up. And this thing was everywhere. We had COVID everywhere, and the number of cases just shot up. And in the process, unfortunately, we still don't know how. We still haven't figured it out. But the bloody thing entered my house downstairs, and unfortunately, I lost my mother.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but well, I'm thankful to God that she did not suffer, and we did manage to, manage her condition at home till the last night. But the thing is, these governments are just not understanding. And as we were talking earlier, Spanish flu had 3 waves. Within a span of 2 years, 1918, 1919, a bit of 1920, it had 3 waves. The first wave was not as brutal. And unfortunately, even back then, humanity did not understand. And they took it like a joke. And then they had a second wave, which really screwed things up. And then even then, a lot of countries just did not get the hint. And the third wave really buggered humanity. And that's exactly what I think we're doing now. The first wave, some countries held well, but now Australia is getting hit. A lot of the United States is getting hit.
Yeah.
Brazil,
real bad.
UK, So this is now, I'm not going to call it the first wave, I'm going to call it the second wave. Because in the history of waves, it's not a wave, but we had a first round of lockups and people getting careful. And then we open up a little. Now this, I think, is the second wave. But what I'm fearing is that this second wave is going to be brutal. But if we don't learn the lesson, God forbid, a third wave is going to really screw us up, man.
So FQ, and I appreciate what you're saying, and many blessings to your family on your losses, and I know that your mom wasn't the only one that was lost in this, and I think we're starting to see more of a personal connection. It's one thing to sit there and talk about COVID and coronavirus and everything else, but I think it's been going on long enough now that I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody in my life that has not been affected by this in some way, shape, or form. And, here in the U.S., it doesn't take much to see. We just had our, country's birthday, Independence Day, July 4th. And, you saw all of that. In fact, on that very day, President Trump came out and said that 99% of the coronaviruses are no big deal. No big deal at all. And totally fine. And it's really interesting how, with so many people that have been affected, I mean, you look at different, I know Boris Johnson has tested positive. The gentleman, I'm sorry, I forget the guy's name from Brazil. I think he's got it now, right? And so it's really interesting. There's been a number of politicians in the United States that have ended up contracting it. And now it just seems like it's growing into almost a bigger joke. I'm going to come out and say, the Spanish flu was when? 1920?
Yeah.
Okay, so 1920. We should expect a bigger number there. We have technology, we have communication, we have ways to get the information out, and I'm just going to come out and say, I'm not going to hold those leaders back in that day and age responsible, but I think what's happening now, I think it's an even bigger sin, and I'm going to use the word sin, because we have not. It just doesn't appear that we've taken and learned any of these lessons. We have all of this amazing technology. We have so many ways to get information out to each other and to really come together as a global community. And we've locked it down and become nationalists. It's just really, it's very frustrating.
Well, there's a flip side of the development in the technology. Back in 1920, how many people were commuting or traveling? Not much. There wasn't much back and forth going on. With all the bloody technology available to us now, the number of people just out there driving long distances, commuting, flying, buses, trains, and just all over the place. It can become a much bigger disaster than Spanish flu. Also, we have to understand that Spanish flu took down a third of the global population, 50 million people, of course, 1990.
Yeah.
So if we take that ratio, now we're what, 7 billion?
Yeah.
God forbid if this thing hits even a tenth of the population, the number is scary. And the sad part is we're still not learning the bloody lesson, man.
No, we're not, and I'll just say, I think here in the U.S., I don't think we're going to get any kind of relief. Not even just from COVID, but just from how nasty and polarizing all of the conversation about it has been here in the U.S. Since we've talked, and I highly encourage this. I highly encourage anybody watching if you take and just go into your Facebook. Just type in the hashtag Corona Karen, Karen. You'll get to see all kinds of crazy white female privilege about wearing masks. It's becoming just insanity. So I highly recommend anybody do that. But this is what's becoming common. We're not going to here in the U.S. We've got at least until November, and then if the president gets sworn in January, whether it's Trump's reelected or we get a new one, that'll come in like January. So we've got at least the rest of 2020 to be dealing with this nonsense as well. So, there's a comment here that I just want to touch on, and that's from Kamran Hyatt. May Allah protect Pakistan and the world. Thank you. I completely agree. Thank you so much for saying that, sir. There's some other apparently we're getting some of our trolls back, FQ, that had gone away, but this is like they're coming back now.
Yeah, but whenever somebody says God help, I always ask this question: why should God help you? When you're hell bent in shooting in your own mouth, why should God help you? I mean, the whole line would be, God help us because we have done this, this, and this, and this to help ourselves. Now, God, please help us. We've done our best. You can't say, I'm going to go finger a sleeping lion. I'm going to jump in front of a train. I'm going to jump off of a cliff. God help me. God will not help you if you're being stupid. At least I don't think He would. I mean, I can't make that claim. But you can't just put this on God and assume that God's going to take care of you. God is not going to, I think, protect you because you are not being worthy of being protected. I don't think humanity right now is being worthy of continuing to occupy. Allow me to use the word, to occupy Earth.
Yeah.
We're not being worthy of it, man.
Yeah, my belief is so I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this. I'm sure you are, Faisal. But there's a Christian poem, and it's called it's based in Christianity, and it's called "Footprints in the Sand." And I forget who writes it, but it's a very well known little quote that a lot of people talk about. And what it says is basically the footprints in the sand is as I go back through my life, I look over my journey, and I see two footprints, but then there's times I only see one footprint. And, God, why did you leave me during this time? And really, and God comes back and says, I didn't leave you. When you see one set of footprints, that's actually when I was carrying you. Well, I take a little different take on that. And a beautiful sentiment to me. When I look over my life's timeline, and I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit presumptive with God, but I think that when I see only one set of footprints, that's because that's God telling me to get my shit together, and for real. And I think that God takes and gives us the ability to make smart decisions. What we choose to do with those is sometimes very different.
Right, but my point is that if you're out there making a decision to destroy people, destroy property, kill people, create madness, create havoc, I don't think God is going to carry you through, man. Anyways, that's a tangent. Apparently, Corona Karen apparently could have coronavirus. It's in Young Turks.
Which one? So Corona Karen. Corona Karen is basically the generalized term, right? I mean,
but I think the founding mother of this, they're talking about the founding mother. Let me get this on the screen. Oops. So you see, apparently, oh God, it's showing a whole bloody screen. I can't do that, man. I've already shown my whole screen. That's no good. Hey! I didn't realize it's gonna open my whole screen up. Anyways.
Well, you know what, and that's what we're finding. I mean, that's what we're finding. You look at the president of Brazil, walking around, no mask, won't put an order out, and now they have it. And
guess what? He was at the July 4th party at the U.S. Embassy, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Yeah,
yes,
it just
he was
seems
at
like
the July 4th party at the embassy, so either he picked it up there or he delivered it there. Either way.
Well, and so why are governments trying to kill their citizens? And I've seen some some people have some comments about the headline itself, but to that light, President Trump came out this morning and straight up said, if schools do not reopen by the fall for in-person instruction 100%, then they will cut federal funding. So the schools, the schools will lose their federal funding. Here's the other interesting thing that's happening right now is students that are here in the United States on student visas. They're about to get
students,
They're about to get expelled if they can't go in person. I don't know.
Because the online classes, so you're saying go back home.
Right. I mean, we don't want to come out and use terms like ethnic cleansing, do we?
Dude, I mean, really,
seems like kind of what every other person's done that started down the road of ethnic cleansing. Get them out.
These four jokers have really lost it, man. I mean, BJ, Trump, the Brazilian dude, and Imran Khan. I mean, all four of them. It's really, they've reached the outliers or the ultimate limits of insanity, I think.
I think
they've really outdone themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really even know that I have too much to say other than at some point it's time for the citizens to, it's time for citizens to do what's best for them. Say, screw these politicians, screw whoever's supposed to be, leading us or representing our best interests, and we're going to have to kind of just sidestep them. I mean, that's the only thing I can kind of see at this point is sidestepping them. And instead of getting all upset about, they're not saying to wear a mask, I think at some point we have to go, you know what? F you, I'm going to wear the mask because I want to wear the mask. I'm not going to leave because I don't want to leave. I don't want to participate in, all of this, I don't want to participate in creating more. I'll just come out and say it for myself. I don't want to participate in making somebody else's life more difficult. I don't want a doctor's life to be more difficult. I don't want another citizen's life to be more difficult because they can't get medical care because of me. I don't want a worker at some place that I have to go, a retail establishment or something, a place I go to get food. I don't want to take and make their job harder. And April and I, cool thing, April and I actually had our 30th wedding anniversary over this weekend. And
happy anniversary, man!
Thank
Belated.
You. So we had plans to be out of the country and travel for this, and then the Corona happened. So, we took and we lamented our losses together. But then we kind of quietly bitched about it to ourselves, and then we did whatever we could. And the interesting thing is when we went to a restaurant to celebrate, it's a very, very clean restaurant. This group does an amazing job of sanitization and keeping everybody distant. This particular place has done an amazing job. And of course, we're getting ready to leave, and of course a Corona Karen and Ken come in and give the workers just a terrible time about being required to wear a mask. They said, "Oh, so you're going to make me put a mask on right now, and walk 5 feet to take it off again?" Like, they're just making it so difficult for these workers to just come in and do their jobs. Another situation I just had to deal. Go ahead.
Wait, interesting. Somebody just put this up, man. 30th anniversary, 15. How old are you, dude?
I'm 49. Yeah.
So you were young, eh?
We were young, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. 19
but hey,
and
congratulations, man. You've
Thank
stuck
you.
it out. Both of you. Love you guys for that. And, God bless, man.
Hey, it's thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a tremendous learning experience. I think marriage is one of those things that God created one to teach us lessons, and then to kind of sit up in the throne and laugh at us because we just get. It's like I tell people, they're like, "Oh, do you wear your wedding band?" And it's like, well, I also have this tattoo of April, for A for April, and it's not to remind me to hey, I have this wife. I know I have a wife. That's to remind me that if I end up doing something stupid, I'll lose half my shit. So
So anyways, man, so all these
Bilal.
governments which are really, really fucking things up in the world, I fail to understand. I mean, how far can politics go? Or you think these people they actually believe that this is the right way? I mean, they keep saying, "Oh, economy." What can be more important than staying alive? I mean, I'm sorry, but I am yet to see anyone die of poverty, especially in a situation like this where humanity is very charitable. I don't think any country or any city or any town would have people dying of hunger or of poverty. People, in a society like America, where there's a lot of leasing and there's a lot of, bank-owned stuff, yeah, people could lose property. People could lose the car. But in a country like Pakistan, nobody loses anything because, everybody owns everything. We don't have a leasing culture. There's no such thing as a bank loan culture. Okay. Either you own it or you don't own it. So my point is, I don't think people are going to die of poverty, but people are already dying in very large numbers because of this disease. So how can these people be so cruel, man?
Well, I think I'll just speak to here in the U.S. because I don't know how you guys are handling education over there. But, why are we taking and sending our, the kids, some of the most vulnerable? We're going to pack them into classrooms. We're going to make it more difficult on teachers. And it's just really, really interesting. I don't know. I think what it's going to take is for the citizens to stand up. They're going to have to take and stand up and say, you know what, we're not putting our kids back in school. And that does have a financial implication here in the United States because schools get their federal funding based upon seat hours per student. So it's this formula. And so the only way to really impact change over here in the United States is to hit people in the pocketbook. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I don't understand when you have, so it's kind of like this. You have teachers and educators, professional educators saying, we need more time. There's somebody, they need more time, they need more guidance, they need help, and so forth to continue to get instruction out to the kids. And what they're being told is no. Like, why are we not listening? Well, I mean, it makes sense that we're not listening to educators about how to best educate when we don't even listen to doctors. I mean, Dr. Trump came right out and said 99% of the cases don't matter. They're irrelevant.
Yeah. As did Dr. Khan. It's just a common flu. It's a common flu, and it's gonna go away. And our health minister said, "Oh, take two Panadols, maybe fine."
Well, I think our health minister is coming out and saying, "How about we get to the bottom of this and see who tried to hire who took and put bids out on 13-year-old girls with Jeffrey Epstein."
Hey, we haven't done this in a while. Why aren't somebody even commented? Why aren't our names showing at the bottom? Did we forget to enter them?
No,
we've come here for a long time. Some of the names are not showing. I don't know why.
I don't know about for this particular one, but when I use the platform in other ones, I actually turn that off because it. So that could be what it is. It got turned off.
Oh, wait,
because our
where do you
bottom.
turn it off? Can you turn it on? I don't know where that is. Oh, no, it says show display names. It's turned on, show display names.
It could be because of the title at the bottom. I've noticed that as
well. Oh,
sometimes.
when showing a banner. Yeah, that's what's doing it. There you go. That's what's doing it.
Yeah, there it is.
That's why. So it's all right. It's all right. I just got. Okay. So well, that's that, man. I think it's a crime. It's a sin. What these people are doing. They're playing with people's lives. I'm not saying it because I've suffered personal loss. I'm just speaking in general. And in Pakistan, it's even a bigger joke. You see big pharma in action. You see people. I mean, this is not the time for people to be greedy. This is not the time to capitalize on people's misery. I mean, I think in recent times there have been wars. Many, the world wars, the Vietnams, and whatever. But I think this is humanity at its worst in the past 100 years.
I agree, and that's why I think it is. That's why I just think it's a bigger atrocity than what took place with the Spanish flu in 1920. I mean, we weren't as educated. That was 100 years ago now, right? I mean, technology's had advancements. We've had advancements in education, technology, healthcare, communication. So, I think that we could be doing a much better job. But when we continue to put elected officials, when we continue to put people in that all they can know how to do, their number one skill has nothing to do with leadership but finger pointing. And it becomes, now what are we supposed to do? Your blame, calling, using terms like Kung Flu that our president is so fond of saying, the China virus and so forth. It's just, whether it's racist, I don't know. I don't want to get into that conversation. But all that is shifting blame, and it has nothing to do. In fact, here in the U.S., we're decreasing testing. We're going to decrease testing now. Because the more you test, the more cases you get. My question really is, so is a woman not pregnant? Is she not pregnant if she doesn't take the test?
Of course not. Ask Dr. Trump. But see, now, mind you, it's not just in the U.S. Even in Pakistan, they're reducing testing drastically and saying, "Oh, we've flattened the curve. We've beaten it."
Yeah, we've not. I mean, in fact, I believe Dr. Fauci is saying, and BRICS, the people here in the U.S., they're saying, we're not done with the first wave. We're still in it. So we've not even seen the second or the third ones yet here in the U.S. And we're calling it good.
I'm calling this a second, even though I'm saying we're in the second wave.
Very possibly. All I know is that I continue to hear that. You won't hear anything about Corona come 2021 when the election's over, and it's like, come on, people will still be dying. People will still be contracting this. And let's talk about something else, because here's a very real reality here in the United States. So let's just talk about, you might get Corona, you might get it, and you might not die. That's true. You might not die. But here in the U.S., what does that do? You know our healthcare system here at Fessel. You know it.
Yeah.
That's going to create so many bankruptcies. The number one reason for bankruptcy, and one of the top reasons for bankruptcy, I don't want to say the number one, one of the top reasons for bankruptcy here in the United States is healthcare debt. So now you have an ICU stay, 7 to 10 days on a ventilator. You might as well take and sign your house over, empty your bank account, and plan to live on the street afterward if you happen to live. So your financial quality of life is going to be completely destroyed with all of the medical debt. And there is no mechanism at all to take and provide any type of financial relief for that at all. So the financial debt, the debt and the financial impact is just as bad. So when we talk about the increase in suicides, it's not necessarily from staying home and being unable to like cope with your own thoughts. It's people are poor. Look what happened in all the rest of the other financial collapses around the world. We had an increase in suicides. Finances matter.
All right, here's my question, man, and I don't even know if I should ask this question because maybe I'm guilty of it myself. How can the world not be sharing at this time, just trying to help each other stay alive, man? I mean, I can't understand. There's so much wealth in this fucking world. There's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much resource, technology, medicine. And you know what? I'm gonna give credit to China. When they were done with their own fight, they were flying out doctors, they were flying out nurses, they were flying out equipment, they were flying out everything. Whoever wanted it, and if you remember, in the very early days, China sent testing kits to the US, but Donald Duck refused to take them because he just didn't want to accept that America did not have testing kits. So he kept bullshitting for about 8 weeks until the US came up to scratch on that. So China did send testing kits. So what I'm saying is, at this point in life, how can the world not come together just to try and stay alive? How can there be Iran and China and Venezuela and Russia and all this? How can at this time, do they really think they've got a leash on this thing? Okay, even if China or America is responsible for creating this virus, and they know how to control. I mean, total conspiracy bullshit I'm throwing in the air. Even if some people in the world know how to control this thing eventually, it is still killing people, and they've taken on nature. It's like dropping the A-bomb the first time, thinking you've got shit in control, but you know what? You didn't. It went ballistic. So likewise, in this case as well, you may think you have it in control, but this thing could really take humanity down. It could really start killing a lot more people. Just imagine, man, 50 million people, Spanish flu. Fuck, man, just the thought is scary.
It totally is. And then we have actions like this. Sends letter withdrawing the U.S. from the World Health Organization.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
I don't know. And what it is because there is a belief. It depends on who you talk to. There is a belief that the World Health Organization, that's what I keep hearing here, is the World Health Organization supports China and they help China cover it. It's like, where do we come up with this? Like, here's the thing. I'm not a big, we've talked about this previously on the show. As you know, my feeling, I love education. I'm not a big fan of necessarily, higher education. I think we need to revamp it. But I can tell you, I'd rather take and trust a scientist than digging up 6 feet up inside of my own ass to try to find information. That just seems to be what we're doing now. We've created a whole bunch of ass talkers. That's all that's happening. Let's just bend over and talk out of our ass. This isn't a Jim Carrey movie.
Created ass talkers. The biggest ass talker is saying use UV lights up your ass, man, or drink Lysol.
And I tried that, and it didn't work. So.
You kinky little man.
But I did have some fun. So. It's really interesting. It's really interesting that we take and continue to vote against our own best interest. And so, listen, I mean, at least here in the United States, we're going to continue. We just seem to do that. It's been, I've seen that throughout the entirety of my career, where, people just voting and voting and voting against their own interests. And we're going to see it again. We're gonna see it again here, and it all comes down to, well, I can't do that. In fact, I just watched a video. I literally just watched a video. A female was interviewed. It was like, I don't know, like a 60-year-old woman, and she was interviewed talking about how the president is a man's job. And it's just like,
oh, really?
You're voting against your own interests every single time.
Send the cow to New Zealand, man. And forgive me for using the word cow, but deserves to be.
It just Yes, I think that when you look at, and maybe that's something that we should do. Maybe that's something that we should do on an episode, FQ, is take and break down the countries that have female leaders and where they're at now compared to the ones with the male leaders. And we see that. We see that. I just read about somewhere else. I think it was Estonia, maybe. I'm not sure who their leader, their president is, or prime minister, whatever they call it. Mm-hmm. But I believe it was a female. And if you look at New Zealand, female, correct?
Because probably COVID is scared of women, man.
or maybe they're just protectors because they're used to protecting children and stuff like that, and so they lock it down instead of walking around beating their chests, acting like tough guys.
All right, have a look at some comments, man.
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to start with this one. Rafi says, "You drank last." No, Rafi, he tried the other thing, the UV light up his arse. No one caught that, man. That's a good thing. All right, let's go back to the top, man. Hasham, good to see us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We were both caught up in stuff. Okay, there's this theory. PTI is getting a lot of money in Corona aid. They're going to want Pakistan to suffer. So, come on. I mean, I don't think so. I think these leaders are just retards, and they think this. I'm sorry. Hey, this is being broadcast in the U.S. It's not politically correct to use that word, so I apologize.
We don't use that word over here, but thank you.
Sorry, man. I take it back, man.
Unless you're President Trump, then you use that word.
Right, but I'll use a better word for that. They're youth-ias. I mean,
Well, I don't. The reason
dog.
I don't like that word is because that applies to people like Trump, and we shouldn't be We shouldn't be referring to people that have intellectual challenges because they're obviously way smarter.
Well, I'm going to talk about that too sometime, man. Children, I believe, are very smart. They're born with capabilities which we're not aware of. As they grow old and they get pulled into the society and the adult way of doing things, children lose their capability of the third eye, the vision, the spiritual connect, which they're born with. So when we say intellectually challenged, I don't think that they're intellectually challenged. They're intellectually challenged in the way of our world. They may not be able to understand calculus, but they are intellectually or spiritually more connected probably than you and I could ever be, man. That's
completely agree. Completely agree.
In a complete different direction.
Different set of strengths.
Yeah. Okay. Totally senseless caption, Yasser. All right. I guess you're a Khan lover or a Trump lover. How many people does it take to F up a country? Just one moron.
Great government agent. Let's check this one out. Kushbu. Yeah, it's really interesting, Kushbu. This is, whether that they're tracking. That's always a big thing here in the United States. Is we're so afraid of Big Brother and being tracked, and yet the really interesting thing is that unless you know how to go in, you get a new iPhone. All of us are being tracked unless you know how to go in and shut that off.
And what's wrong with it, man? Where's the problem in being tracked?
I figure I'm being tracked regardless. At this point, I mean, everybody is like, hey, I want to ask you a question, right? And they're like, how come you're wearing the mask, Dennis, you big sheep? Bah. That's the big thing here in the U.S. is you go up to people with their phone, and if they're wearing a mask, and you go, bah, because you're a sheep. And then you get their reaction, and then you post it. That's what we're doing. I mean, at some point, we have to take and say, you know what? No more making fun of each other. No more making jokes about each other. Let's take and direct making fun, poking fun, calling names. Let's call it at the people that are causing this.
Okay, hear me. In the U.S., more than anywhere else in the world, there's a lot of thing about, it's my business. I do what I want. Nobody questions anybody else. Nobody interferes. How come suddenly in this mask business, everyone's in bloody everybody else's business? You want to wear a mask? Mask. Wear it. Don't want to wear it? Don't wear it, man. What's the problem?
I don't know.
Why suddenly people are getting into other people's business?
Well, why are you trusting your friends from high school that are on your Facebook feed that barely passed science class? Why are you trusting those people? Like, there's doctors that know this stuff. I don't know that every doctor knows everything, but I can tell you they sure know a whole lot more than me. And that's where I get my information. And any other time, I don't know. I just had this conversation with somebody. They said, well, Dennis, it's more of a concept of, as a Christian, it's faith over fear. I'm like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense because I know for a fact you've had chemotherapy when you had cancer. Why didn't you just pray it away? Yeah. So it's all very, very convenient. Omer, yes, I truly believe this. God only helps those that help themselves. I completely agree. God gives us the ability to take and get ourselves out of situations. I think a lot of times we sit around expecting and hoping for a miracle as opposed to taking what God has given us to create our own miracles. That's my belief. Probably get me killed in some countries, but that's what I believe.
Two things. Khush was talking about, in Lombardy, hang on, man. Authorities are analyzing location data, and that's great. A lot of countries doing, but you know what? What's the best is this Russia. They actually are building trenches to quarantine people. How's that, man? That's the way to go.
So what is this? What does this do? I'm not very familiar with this.
So they've dug up a trench around a whole village to keep people from getting out.
Wow.
That's the Russian way of doing shit, man.
Okay, well, I guess it's similar to the wall, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Here's another comment. How surprising it is that the world is simultaneously like people like the President of Brazil, PM of UK, Trump, etc. Interesting.
Yeah, I understand that comment, and I'm not saying conspiracies aren't true. I just don't have the mental capacity to just chase them down because they get too deep, they get too complex, and at the end of the day, there's really no way for us to take and prove or disprove that. So I just choose not to.
No, there's no conspiracy here. The world has simultaneously become stupid. It is this had to happen with so much information and knowledge coming at people who are completely incapable of even. Dennis, I'm going to take a little. Who are incapable of knowing that you've got to wash your ass instead of wiping it.
Nah.
Did you ever show it, man? Did you ever show it?
I just haven't released the video yet. It's coming.
Oh, come on. Can I tell people now?
Tell them what?
That you finally got it installed.
Oh, yeah. And the interesting thing is it's been almost a month now. I'm almost at the end of my trial because, I needed to. What I did is I took and made a date. I challenged myself for one roll of paper for a month, but I have completely switched over.
Whoa, how does that work, man? You gotta wipe before you wash.
Yeah.
You still use toilet paper.
I am still using toilet paper.
So can't be a roll a month.
Well,
you'll need more, I think.
Maybe you need to check your diet.
No, I think you definitely need more, man.
We'll see. So it's a challenge I'm having, and here's why. So more than anything else, when I really started looking at the pros and the cons of washing, for me, what really made the ultimate decision maker and what sold me, one roll of toilet paper. One roll of toilet paper takes 36 gallons of water to make. A lifetime supply of toilet paper for one human being is roughly 385 trees. I don't need to have 385 trees cut down just so I can wipe my ass. That just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. On top of, the other thing is you just feel clean. Because you are. I think the biggest thing for me was when I actually put it into perspective of, if I were to, everybody knows I've got dogs. If I had to take and walk out in my backyard and I walk in dog poop, if I get that on my foot, I'm going to wash it off with soap and water. Why would I not do that with my backside? You just kind of have to think about.
Thank you very much.
Get back to the basics with it, right? So Omer,
there you go,
genocide. Listen, I'm really close to using that word. I don't see it as very different. Genocide kind of makes it sound like that.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I've been using it openly. I call it a psychopathic genocide.
Yeah.
Anything else interesting, man?
No, I did. I got married at 19. April had just turned 20, so not 15. But it's interesting who that's coming from, is because I know in lots of parts of the world, 15 is a pretty common age for people to get married.
Yeah.
So, did I get a stimulus check? I got a check for $1,200. However, I'm not going to say that it was the government. That's my money in the first place.
Yeah.
Pakistan, apart from jobless. Opening what up? Yeah. Kushbu, I agree. Lost their job. I feel sorry for those two. Yeah, agreed. A lot of sales positions. Rafia, you always make me laugh, friend. Yeah, there is no curve. People are dying. And again, she always, I like Rafia because she always peppers in the spicy language, and I like it.
Well, she says it. She says what everyone's thinking, man. It's all right.
I agree. Kamran, you know what? I'm going to say I think it depends on what you have going on. All of the data and the research shows that right now, if you have cancer, the place that you really want to go is South Korea. They seem to have the best technology, the best treatment programs. People, they have a much higher success rate of treating cancer than what I know we do here in the U.S. So I think it depends on what you have. I've also heard that if you have cardiac issues, one of the places you want to look at going is Thailand. Because you can for the United States to get a pacemaker, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I have a friend that went to Thailand, got a pacemaker installed. It also included like a 30-day stay in the resort hospital room. Airfare, everything was just under $10,000 US. That's 30 days, airfare both ways, 30-day stay, and pacemaker with all the because you got to go in and mess with that. It's not just a simple thing. You got to tweak it and stuff, calibrate it. So, anyway, that's. I think it depends on what you're talking about and what you have. But I do believe Canada does have a very, very good medical system. In fact, a lot of my
under normal circumstances. Also, if you need something in a hurry, you end up waiting forever. So it's not the best. It works in some situations.
And I think it's a good system compared to mine, because mine is all private, where that's private and public, and so you can kind of have a hybrid. Yeah. I don't think any one system is the solution. I think it's about constantly looking to tweak it, recalibrate it, and base it upon what the citizens' needs are, as opposed to what we want to give them, and that seems to be what we have. What we've gone.
Here's an interesting one we should look at, man. Check this comment out. This is an interesting one. Very well worded. Yeah. Our state is deliberately under testing, i.e. under reporting consequently, to support the control over pandemic and their brilliant handling the rest of the world. Two, the unreported COVID-19 deaths in rural and urban areas never tested, when it should have been declared mandatory for every death to be tested before burial. Expensive. Absolutely agreed, sir. I have 100% agreed with you.
So my question, FQ, is so if you need to get tested for COVID, if you need a COVID test, do you have to pay for that out of pocket?
A lot of money, yeah.
So you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Because here in the U.S. it's roughly
state-owned testing.
Say that again.
The state hospital testing, you don't want to even try it. Well, the state is giving you free tests at government hospitals, but the chances are, even if you're not sick, you'll get sick over there. So, and you have to, you have to get this prescription, you have to get that, and you have to. It basically works. As I was saying earlier, the bigger problem is the big pharma is working as well, and private enterprise work. So the government will make it so miserable for you that you will end up going for a private test, or if you can't afford it, you'll just go by the symptoms. Okay. And our government is boasting about this whole bloody smart lockdown bullshit. It's absolute hogwash. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to get foul. These are just lying through their teeth. Because you know what? My mother tested positive. My father tested positive, and over a span of 2 weeks, eventually my mother passed away. We did a second follow-up test for my father. In that duration, no one called us or came to us.
Okay.
Only after the second test, somebody said, "Are we calling from the Government Department of Health? Mr. So-and-so has been tested positive. We'd like to come and check and, test the people around." Like, you idiot, that was 2 weeks ago. People have already died in my family.
Right.
And you know what? And they have no way of knowing what's going on. And they never actually came. They were just filling a piece of paper that made the phone call. That is it. So this whole smart lockdown bullshit coming out of Pakistan is absolute hogwash. They're just BSing. And I'm sorry, we've talked about it enough. And I'm going to just slip it here. This whole herd immunity thing. That's what these countries are doing, and they're relying on herd immunity, and it's just insane, absolutely insane and criminal. Anyways.
Yeah, and I just want to say this. Khushbu, I completely agree. And I'll tell you, here in the United States, testing is anywhere between $95 to $150, depending upon where you go. So $95 to $150 out of pocket. That's whether or not you have health insurance. And I can assure you that there are people that are not going. I see it on my feeds. Is there anywhere to go to get free testing because of how many people in this country don't have access to health health insurance? So, and then they don't have the extra money to go and get tested either. So that's a whole nother side of this. It just seems like, with something that is a global health crisis, we should all be coming together, and this is what I would just end on, is we should all be coming together to take care of one another, because at the end of the day, for as far as I'm concerned, if somebody in Pakistan has it, then somebody in China is going to get it, somebody in China is going to come to Germany, and it's just going to continue to keep spreading until we come together as a global community, and we tell these people that are supposed to be representing us, we get them out and we get people in that will actually represent humanity's best interests, not just our own personal interests of, because like here we've had a situation where a local business, it's a gym, and they took and sued the state for being closed down. And the judge ruled with the governor saying, no, it's a health crisis. We're going to stick with the course. And so now what you're hearing is, well, then we need to get the judge out of office. Protest the judge. So it's not protesting. It's not for public health. It's not for anything. It's what we're doing is we're lobbying on behalf of selfishness.
Okay, this last comment that just came in is very, very important. We need, there's this whole thing yesterday that COVID-19 actually spreads through air particles, and there was a case where this woman took an elevator, and another woman took the elevator after her and got infected, and that series infected about 60 people. So yes, this thing is apparently lingering in the air for about 30 minutes or so. So if that propagates, this shit can become really scary, man.
I think it's more scary than what we've been led to believe. I think we've been led to believe that everything is fine. It is not, and it's time for people to just take personal responsibility. And at the end of the day, like, if you don't, stop worrying about everybody else, be selfish. Protect yourself, protect your family, and in that, the side benefit is that we're protecting other people as well, and we're stopping community spread. As far as there was a comment in here about whether or not the protests and so forth. Listen, I don't know. We should not be protesting in public spaces right now, and the reason is because of COVID. I mean, there's other ways to do it. So anyway, FQ. Listen, I'm glad that we're back. I'm glad that, at least in our families, God bless everybody else's that is still dealing with this. Hopefully it stays out of ours for the remainder of the time. And I will just say, please wear your mask. I recently I saw pictures of a friend of mine who literally just has not even been done with chemotherapy. Chemotherapy, cancer, 34 years old, and out and about. Went to another state over 4th of July weekend, no mask at all. Listen, I mean,
it's not just masks, man. You know, now that this thing has entered part of my house, this house is built in a way that I have a complete isolation zone upstairs. But I've got boxes of masks in the house. I'm using masks. I told you earlier, I've got my hands shaved because the moment I leave my room, I actually carry gloves of all kinds in my pocket. If I'm touching anything, I'm wearing either one of these gloves or one of these gloves. You got to be really careful. Like Dennis said, for God's sake, be selfish. This is the year, we keep saying this is the year to just stay alive, man. Just stay alive. Businesses, economy, everything else will, God willing, figure itself out.
Yeah,
but
and I'm just going to come out and say, there's somebody trying to chime in here about not wearing masks and fungal infections. I don't even want to give that any type of validity at all. Listen, that's what I'm glad about, Faisal, and I'll leave it with this. I'm really happy that finally Facebook is and all these other social platforms are flagging that stuff as misinformation. So people can start to get some better information than other people that are saying stay alive and don't wear masks. Like, you know what? Then I'm not even going to finish my thought. Not even going to finish my thought because it was rude.
That's a fake account, man. Leave it. It's a fake account. Screw that.
Excellent. All right. Hey, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
It's good to be back, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Good night.